Now, if you want the Cowboys to bounce back in a very needed way in Week 3, then like today's video. The data proves it. More likes, more wins. You should know which one had more likes from Week 1 to Week 2 then. So if you want the Cowboys to get a critical win over the Ravens, like today's video for me right now. Early line in this one. Week 3, the Ravens come to town. The Ravens are a 1-point road favorite. Does not happen all that often. What is most noteworthy and interesting to me is this is a desperate Ravens football team. 2 of the last 32 teams since the playoffs expanded back in 2020 have begun the year 0-2 and gone on to make the playoffs. Bengals with Joe Burrow, Houston with C.J. Stroud. Ravens have the talent to make that happen, but they have to win this game. From a odds perspective, the season's kind of cooked if they can't beat the Dallas Cowboys. They got to show up. Cowboys won in Week 1, embarrassed in Week 2. The Ravens, they did it again, by the way, against the Raiders. No team has blown more 7+ point leads than the Baltimore Ravens. They're actually kind of bad closing out games. They've blown 10 of them of late. Massive figure. Lamar's kind of fallen apart in a bunch of games in the second half. They almost came back and beat the Chiefs. They likely was out of bounds by that much. Maybe that much. It's crazy. But they have not played well. You did not play well last week. Both teams need a win. Help themselves feel better and get back on track here. So who you got? C for the Cowboys, R for the Ravens. The networks had hoped both these teams were undefeated going into Week 3. Instead, they're combined 1-3. Who you got? C for the Cowboys, R for the Ravens. Let's get into keys to victory here. Number 1, you've got to find a way to contain Lamar Jackson. Look, Lamar is a fairly dynamic threat. That he is incredible with his feet. He has dropped some weight to be more mobile, more athletic. I have concerns about limiting him in the pocket. I don't know if he's going to be, for a team that, historically speaking, has always found ways to allow the mobile quarterbacks to cook them, regardless of defensive coordinator. This is the type of quarterback that makes you a little bit anxious there. But he'll miss some throws. He'll put the ball on the turf. If you get the best version of Lamar Jackson, you're going to be in for a pretty tough game in terms of winning. If you can make him make mistakes, if you can not let him do the crazy Lamar Jackson stuff, like the Raiders did, like the Chiefs kind of did, he still made a bunch of crazy plays because their offensive line is bad, by the way, then you got a real chance of winning this football game. So predict the score for me of the Cowboys against the Ravens. Let me know in the comments section what you think the final score will end up being. Number 2, and this might be viewed as a revenge game for Derrick Henry since Dallas didn't call him. You got to limit him. The Ravens are going to turn on the tape and go, okay, let's just run stretch plays to Derrick Henry all game long. That's what the Saints did. Derrick Henry has 31 carries for 130 yards. That's only 4.2 yards per carry so far, but 2 touchdowns. And I would very much anticipate him being heavily involved in the ground game. Because why wouldn't it be? Like, if you're the Ravens, why aren't you getting Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson involved on the ground? Cowboys still haven't shown that they can stop the ground game. They still haven't done it yet. It's been how many games now? How many years now that they cannot stop the run? At some point, they got to show up and do it. This would be a great start to making that happen. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. And all you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch your winnings roll in. You've got the ability to take their freebie. It's the Caleb Williams Every week in September, one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 point. It's a free win. Sometimes you'll have stuff like their Demon and Goblins options. This is an example of what it looks like, right? It's the reduced more than, less than. It's just 1 touchdown for Saquon Barkley. Then it's normal stat lines. Devonta Smith, 72.5 yards, etc. for all the teams and players out there. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Key to victory number 3. You have to figure out what team you are. And your best chance of winning games, which might not be a great chance if they show up on defense like you did back in week 2, is to make your passing offense the focus. It's the same stuff we talked about last year. Gotta let the offense cook through the air as best as possible. That means more creative schemes involved there, by the way. Look what the Ravens defense is through 2 games, small sample size admittedly. They are 26th in EPA per play. That's bad. In dropback EPA, they're 26th. In rush EPA per play, they're 4th. Their total success rate is 20th. Means they've allowed some big plays. Dropback success rate is 30th. They are the NFL's best run defense in terms of success rates. Now, the Raiders are not a good run offense. That's probably a big factor there. But those numbers tell you, all right, best chance to beat the Ravens? Don't try to establish shit. Throw it. You take out the garbage time of the Browns and Saints games and the Jalen Brooks fall down interception, and Dak is safely back into the top 10 of expected points added per play at quarterback. So you still have your top 10 QB when the game's actually been competitive, and he's good. So let him cook. Don't call this game on offense like you can actually bank on your defense. Like you have to assume that your defense will not show up again. There's been too many games since that Seattle Thanksgiving disaster where your defense was dog water and they killed you and almost cost you the game. You gotta attack on offense. You have to assume that you have to score points. That makes it more risky. That risk is the only way you're going to be competitive against good teams. What side of the ball do you trust more right now? O for offense, D for defense. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Number 4. This kind of ties into let Dak deal. You got to get some easy buttons. Every time, I swear I'm saying on air, wide open play for the opposing team. Tight window there. The numbers bear that out. Dak Prescott, the second highest tight window throw percentage in football. The average separation is 22nd. It's down there at 3.3. You want that number to be low, and that number to be hot, so to be low, and that number to be low. It's the opposite. It's high. It's the opposite of what you need. Your guys are not getting open. You're pushing the ball downfield some. Great. Your time to throw is pretty quick. It's not high at all. Your pressure rate is pretty low. It's not that bad either. You have a bunch of tight windows. Nobody schemed open. Your offense, which I get, it's smart, is trying to protect its offensive line. But you've schemed to protect your offensive line and not schemed for your playmakers and your offense and your skill guys. What happened? They ran so much cheat motion this year, and now it's out of the playbook. They're just not doing it anymore. They've fallen away from it. They've gone back to what's easy and comfortable, and dare I say lazy, even. You have to unleash CeeDee Lamb in this football game. When the Ravens have a smart defense coordinator, they'll make it tough on you. You can't just assume that, okay, Lamb will win some slant routes. Like, I got to get him involved on screens. I got to get him involved on where are your crossers? Run mesh one time. You never run mesh. Run the stuff that works in the modern day NFL. Get back to it. Make life easy on your players. Every offensive drive is just this slog of challenge after challenge, and you're banking on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. Dak pitched it to Zeke for a 15-yard gain somehow. You can't bank on that. You got to get some easy buttons, man. And Dak and Lamb are the guys that are going to carry you in the regular season. You might not have the horses beyond that, but we're in the regular season. Let's get that stuff done first. Now, if you guys want daily Dallas Cowboys videos, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Number 5, you got to stop the slow starts, man. This has been a constant theme on both sides of the ball, not just this year, not just last year. Every playoff game, you've started slow. The recent big games, Saints are down 35-13 in the second quarter, down 27-0 against the Packers. You were up 7-3 against the Lions. Your defense showed up, offense did not. Defense didn't show up in Saints-Packers games. Offense didn't show up in the Packers game. Down 16-7 against the Dolphins. Defense was out there a lot. They just couldn't sustain drives. But more offensive to blame. Bills, nobody showed up. Eagles, everyone showed up for the first time. Blew them out of the water. Defense never showed up against the Seahawks. Kind of showed up for the most part against the Eagles. Never showed up against the 49ers, either side of the ball. And then he beat up on the Rams. All of these things raise the same point. This team, under this coaching staff, has pretty consistently found a way to disappoint. In the biggest games, in the biggest moments, everybody on that team fades. They falter. It's probably a coaching staff issue. If they come out flat again, what are we going to do? You're in a bad spot then. One injury note I want to get into here. First off, Zach Martin should be fine. He came back to the game in week 2. Sounds like, as of filming Monday night, Jake Ferguson trending towards playing in this game with that knee injury. We'll monitor it throughout the week of practice. Wednesday we'll get a big update there, Thursday, Friday. But I would wager he's back out there, which should benefit your offense, your passing game in particular. So my score prediction, as promised before we go. Prove me wrong, Dallas. This is not a game I expect them to win. Hopefully they're more competitive. I think the Ravens are more desperate. I think they're better coached, kind of significantly even. They probably have the better quarterback. Maybe they don't play as well. I think Ravens win this one 30-27.